before the Board of Trustees votes on a matter. Kristen, were there any public requests to speak?
No, sir, there were none.
Trustees, just a quick reminder that if you are a trustee but are not on this committee, you are welcome to ask questions and engage in the discussion. However, please refrain from making motions or voting. Only committee members can make, second, and vote on motions. Let's commence our agenda. Our first and only action item or item of business today is to review and consider the approval of the University Accountability Plan for fiscal year 2025. I would like to invite Dr. Brad Tyson to share his presentation on the accountability plan.
Thank you, Trustee Abbott. And accountability plan is usually my favorite time of the year for board meetings. You get to dazzle the trustees with all this data or put them to sleep, either way. The good news or bad news is we've already done all the hard work. The accountability plan is simply a reflection of our strategic plan. So I'll go into it in just a bit, but what you see on your screen right now is the only slide I really wanted to share with you, which shows what the accountability plan will contain. So the accountability plan will have our mission, it will have our commitment to free expression, it will have some short-term strategy, and then it's basically just our performance and our goals going forward on a series of about 30 metrics. And so as an example, the screen is showing the retention rate, the annual progress rate, which is first to second year retention, students earning a 2.0 GPA or above. And so that purple line, you will see the data in the accountability plan is our performance over the past 5 years, where we've hovered from 76.6% down to 64.2% and most currently 74.9%. The gray lines represent the other schools in the SUS, just for comparison, so you can kind of scale your expectations. So what the accountability plan will then show are our goals going forward for the next 5 years. And that's what that blue line represents. You'll see a table full of numbers, but for every single metric, it was as easy as this. We took our current performance, made a slight improvement for the next year to set a goal, and then made sure our 2030 goal aligns with our strategic plan. And so we just set a nice linear path for most of the metrics. Some are a little more exponential when it was about money or student growth. But that's what you're going to see, just repetition after repetition of metrics, where it's just our performance and the trajectory we need to hit our goals that we set in our strategic plan. So I'm going to take control over the screen now and display the accountability plan so I can scroll through it. Right, so somebody verify that you're seeing a PDF. All right, thank you. Well, I guess you don't know the file format, but you're seeing something on here. All right, so here's the cover sheet for this agenda item. I'll just display this so you can kind of see the summary of performance-based funding metrics, because this is something else. This is not when our score is necessarily locked in, but our data are locked in as a result of the accountability plan, which will inform our funding for next year with PBF. So this table summarizes those 10 performance-based funding metrics. And again, I'll go into more detail at a future meeting about any of these and probably all of them. This table summarizes what was our performance like most recent year to the prior year. So you can see that first metric, percent enrolled or employed, went down 4.4%. So it went down. Did it meet the goal that was set previously? No. But what's our projected score on the PBF metrics for that metric? 10, perfect 10. Because we will still be as high, if not higher, than every other school. So again, all this summarizes down to the bottom of the table where we are projecting a score of 74. Now, if you remember presentations I've given previously, I was projecting a 77, maybe 78 occasionally. Why didn't we hit that? It was our 3-year transfer graduation rate. Because of the way it's a rolling 3-year average, it didn't hit what we thought it was going to hit. But thankfully, all we needed to hit was a score of 74. So we will get full funding on our performance-based funding for next year. But let me scroll down into the accountability plan. And again, stop me if anyone wants more details on any metric as I go through this. This is a standard template from the Board of Governors. We don't have much control over the length of our narrative in each section, but here's what it is. So mission statement is our mission statement from the strategic plan. And you might note, hey, our mission statement is not 2 paragraphs, it's just 1 statement. That second paragraph is a requirement of the accountability plan, where we indicate our commitment to free expression and our endorsement of the SUS system free expression statement. So we do acknowledge that. Our strategy, again, I'm not even sure it's worth spending any time on this because you've seen our strategy. We have those 3 priorities of growth, intentional resource development, and partnerships. This is just taking that a 5-year strategy and condensing it down a little bit over the next 3 to 5 years. Then we have a section on graduation rate improvement plan. So maybe 5 years ago or so, Board of Governors asked each school to provide a graduation rate improvement plan. And so each school did that in their accountability plan. Every year since then, we have to provide an update. Are we hitting our goals? Are we doing what we said we were going to do? Again, there's a lot of what we've already discussed about as a committee in this section. Next section is key achievements for students, for faculty, for programs, and the institution. Again, you've heard of a lot of these or seen them in news stories, or we've been bragging about them at board meetings or the Board of Governors meetings. Again, a lot of good stuff in here. I won't take the time to go through it. Next section is for the 10 performance-based funding metrics. Again, once you see these tables, what you'll see is we have our actual performance in the table. Then we have goals that were approved last year. And then we're able to propose new goals based on the data that we have. So this section asks that if we lower any of our goals on the performance-based funding metrics, we have to justify why. So we are lowering some short-term goals. And the reason why is because we are following what the Board of Governors suggested we do. We are aligning this perfectly with our strategic plan. So as an example, again, this table at the top, the percent of bachelor's graduates enrolled or employed earning $40,000 plus. You can see our actual performance for our 2023 graduates was 80.9. The goal that we had approved the previous year was 83. The goal that was set last year for 23-24 was also 83. We're lowering that to 81 because that's where we are, right? We don't really have control over the 2024 graduates by the time President Stevenson arrived. So we're setting 81 as our baseline, and we're going to grow over time to hit that goal of, I forget what it is in our strategic plan, probably 85% based on this. And so we do have a few metrics where we are lowering short-term goals, but raising longer-term goals 5 years out. And you'll see all this. There's an enrollment management plan. Very similar. It's that goal of 3,000 students by 2030. How are we going to do it? You've seen this. It's in the strategic plan. It's in the discussions we've been having. So here we get to the actual metrics. I've talked about this first one enough that I don't want to spend any more time on it. Again, I won't even go through all these because it's exactly what I said. Median wages. Our most recent data from our 23 graduates was $66,800. That's the median salary within 12 months of graduation. That beat our goal of 65,000 that was set last year. So what's our goal for next year? Instead of 65, let's bump it up to 66. And let's increase until we hit that 70,000 mark and beyond. 72,000 is our strategic plan goal. So if I did spend more time on each of these metrics, again, no one would be surprised. What are we strong in? We're strong in outcomes of our students. We're strong in the net cost of our degree, which the net cost of tuition and fees and books, but not counting housing, for a 4-year degree was minus $9,510. Our goal is just to keep it under zero. Right? We'll have some fluctuation, but if we have a zero cost degree, that's great. 4-year graduation rates, again, so average costs were great. The types of programs we offer is exactly what the state wants, STEM programs. Where we struggle, again, it won't surprise anyone, 4-year graduation rates and retention rates. So 4-year graduation rate, this is alarming, right? We talk about retention a lot. 4-year graduation rate is the ultimate goal here. We're down to 37%, which we cannot be at. And so we're setting goals to jump up to 40 and then 4% increase every year after that. And how are we going to do that? With the curricular changes we're making, the changes to onboarding students, with academic support, everything that's in our strategic plan. So I'll scroll through the rest of the PBF metrics. And if there was something in here that I really thought required attention or you weren't aware of, I would let you know. I'll highlight this one, even though it's a negative for us. Here's that 3-year transfer graduation rate. It's a rolling 3-year average, but we're stuck at 25%. We cannot be there, right? If we are at 25%, we need to rethink if we should admit transfer students. We know we want to admit transfer students. We know they can be successful here. So what changes do we need to make to our curriculum to ensure at least half, if not 2/3, if not 3/4, graduate within 3 years? Beyond these PBF metrics, There's a series of other indicators, KPIs that the Board of Governors
Can I
provides
interrupt
for us.
you?
Yes.
It's Ilya Shapiro. I'm driving, so I apologize. I'm off camera. What is the reason for the graduation rate? Because it doesn't seem, it seems like the students we're admitting are capable. So is it a matter of the material being too difficult for the undergraduate level, or the freshman year kind of survey courses to get everyone on the same page are deficient in some way? We have the goals to improve, and that's good. That's understandable and what we should be doing. But what is the cause of this?
Yeah, and it's like you might guess, there are a lot of causes. So beyond the academics, of course, there's occasionally some financial issues. There's adaptability to college and kind of the social aspect that has a little impact as well. Our problem, it's twofold. We do have students who take longer than 4 years to graduate, right? So that does impact it. If we go out to 6-year graduation rate, it improves by 15% thereabouts. But our biggest issue is we lose students in that first year, between the first and second year. And so is some of it the academic preparation of students? Sure, there's some amount of that. I'm with you. We are admitting students are definitely capable based on the admission standards that we have and the data that we're getting. So there's something with the mix of what are we bringing them in with expectations for? Are they prepared for not the content of the class, but how we're teaching the class? Are they onboarded to the college experience? So we are revamping our first year curriculum next year in every single academic program. We have strong reason to believe that will help lower the DFW rate, the percent of students get a grade of D, F, or withdraw in their first year class. That will definitely help. We also have issues where maybe we're not offering the most engaging courses in the first year. And so the reinvention of our first year curriculum is focused on, sure, you do need to take some classes that are going to be outside your major. Intro to writing. You're going to take that if you don't have credit for that already. But can we get you immersed in your discipline day one with hands-on experiences? Get you excited for why you want to be here. And again, meet that expectation, because every student we admit, they know what they're getting into. They're getting into a STEM institution. They're excited about it. We need to match that level of excitement with the curriculum we're providing to them. There are also issues of recovery pathways within courses. So if a student comes in and for whatever reason has an unsuccessful first exam or first project, what are the recovery pathways for that student? Are they doomed to get a C or lower in the class, or can we provide other pathways for them to remediate that grade, relearn the material, and demonstrate that competence? So there's a lot we are working on. There's more than one reason for it, but you've kind of hit the nail on the head that it is, as far as we can tell, mostly an academic issue where our level of instruction is not meeting the level of preparation for students.
Brian, I would just add to that quickly that there's also the social integration component, which all of the research is suggesting that it is equally important for students to remain committed and enrolled at the school. And so as we continue to enhance and upgrade the student experience with clubs and organizations and possibly athletics and things of that nature, it will enhance the overall student experience from a social integration point. So in other words, just making them feel more at home, it's going to help with that number.
Trustee Taki?
I just have more of a piece of advice in terms of looking at 4-year graduation rates. I know some friends of mine and personal students that I know, and I would know you're talking about in terms of recovery pathways, but if a student, unfortunately, for example, fails the statics class, when is that next statics class offered? Is it offered the next fall? Is it offered the spring, or is it offered in the summer? So what opportunity is the student given to recover from something that may be out of their control? Because I've had personal friends that maybe have failed a class, and that adds a whole year to their curriculum because it's a core class in their course flow.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And we're also taking a deep dive into the prerequisites of our courses. So of course, some courses need prerequisites, but how big of a prerequisite chain do you need? And are the prereqs vital, or are they just what we would prefer students to have to build those recovery pathways?
So one thing about the idea of the curriculum. So you could, if you want to get your graduation rate up, you can just change your curriculum to taking attendance and everyone's going to graduate. Yeah. So like there's an asymptotic case where you deal with this particular problem by completely dumbing down the material. And obviously you don't want to go there, and that would hurt a lot of the other metrics. And so it's just important to keep that in mind. And I know, I hear what you're saying about, we're going to make the curriculum more exciting and that sort of thing. But it's just important to remember not to make it too easy. And then I was thinking of some early warning sorts of systems that might help. So if you could develop a system where faculty can flag someone a quarter of the way through a semester that's not doing well, and they get special attention from someone to try to figure out what the problem is, or if you could have some sort of system in the online grade entry system that automatically flags and tells some administrator, we got someone who's looking on the path to fail. And then the other thing is, if you can train some sort of algorithm from the intake data you have to help students know, like if you could give them data that said like, okay, given the information we have, you have a 10% chance of graduating with a degree in physics in 4 years and a 90% chance of graduating in a degree of computer science. I mean, I just picked two random things. If that information, if you could train on the, the training data that you have for the last 10 years and give the kid that information, that could be really helpful. So not even saying like, oh, we think you should major in this major, just like, well, historically, here's the graduation rates for someone coming in with your profile.
Yep.
I'd like to say something. I can't raise my hand or chat for some reason, so I apologize. I have two quick questions. Well, one quick question. On the first key performance indicator with didn't we try to lower our goal and the Board of Governors rejected it? Well, didn't that happen last year? Because I thought we tried to drop it to 81% or something. Didn't the Board of Governors reject it?
They did. So I wasn't here, but I know the story. They did. I think the issue was the goal was dropped, and then that same goal was used for the foreseeable future. Whereas we are dropping the first year and then increasing goals quickly to hit our strategic plan.
Yeah, let me say, I think Dr. Toll, they viewed it as maybe Trustee Abbott had said that we had dumbed down our numbers and we're relenting to a lower, and they just weren't for doing that. And neither are we. We have a course to improve, constantly on that continuous improvement course. So it was perceived as dumbing down and, becoming complacent. And we don't want to do that. We want a path forward that's upward.
I see. And just to kind of echo what Dr. Thiessen said, I do think our changes we made this year in the first year are going to be, you're going to see an improvement or at least more engagement from the student body, which hopefully should translate to improvement.
Just one more thing that occurred to me, and Brad, I think you might have been alluding to this, but it's particularly important in first year classes to have the most kind of dynamic, personable professors doing that. Matters less in your advanced, third, fourth year, what have you, but particularly when you're getting used to college style teaching, what have you, that it's not necessarily your very best researcher or whatever, but it does have to be your very best teacher.
Yes. Yeah.
I totally concur with that. Yes.
All right, so I'll move quickly, but again, stop me on any of these metrics. I'll explain some when I think they require some explanation. So these key performance indicators, the first section is focused on teaching and learning. The first one you'll notice, what do you mean we don't have any public university national rankings? This is a curated list of publications from the Board of Governors. Many of these ranking publications we're ineligible for based on our status, based on our Carnegie classification. So until we grow and become eligible for some of these other publications, we're not setting a goal of appearing on the list of publications that they have. Uh,
And let me just say, on a side note, some of those rankings come based on the corpus of your foundation, how much money you have with your endowment. It's sort of bizarre, but that is true.
Yeah. Number two is freshmen who come in who are in the top 10% of their high school class. You'll see a drop from 35 to 24. We'll see what impact that has on student retention, if any. One thing I'll note here is that the percent of high schools who provide this data has been dropping over the past decade. And in fact, many of the high schools that produce some of the best students, your IB programs, your ACE programs, they don't provide rankings necessarily. Some do, some don't. And so this ends up being, I don't know if we're at a minority of our student population already, but we're probably close to it of students where we even get this data from. So I'm more worried about the success when they get here and the SAT scores than I am that they were in the top 10% of their high school class. Number three is how long on average does it take a student to complete a degree here? We're at 4.1 years. We should be at 4, right? Ideally, we'd be less than 4 because students bring in accelerated credit. Number four, state of Florida thing. So it's the percent of students who earn a degree without taking and paying for excess hours, which is, I believe, 132 credit hours or more. So you can see 86% of our students do not do that. They finish with less than 132 credit hours, which is what we want. And there's 6-year graduation rates. There you see again, we were at, I've already forgotten the number, 37% for 4-year. We're at a 54% 6-year graduation rate, which still isn't great, but it does show we do have a population of students that just takes slightly longer. Number 6 is another one we have to fix. It's our students who come in from a Florida college system school. They transfer in with an AA degree. How many graduate in 2 years? Well, because of the nature of our programs, a lot of the credit they take for an AA doesn't transfer and apply to the degree. And so right now we're at 0. No one is graduating in 2 years. We think we have some ways to rearrange our curriculum to at least allow in some of our programs transfer students to graduate in 2 years. We're also interested in working with the Florida college system on articulation agreements that will improve this metric significantly once we reach those agreements.
And let me say something that was not a priority of the former administration, and that is transfers. And so I've reached out to the academic vice chancellor for the system, and we're looking at the possibility of a system-wide articulation. Sometimes it's common for you to do cherry picking where we would choose Polk State or Miami-Dade, but I would like to see a system-wide articulation agreement, and they are very open to that. So I think that will help us greatly.
Next metric is the 4-year graduation for Pell recipients. And so our performance, again, isn't great. It's a 4-year graduation rate, but our goals going forward are to have 0 gap between Pell students and non-Pell students. We have no excuse for there being a gap in those populations. Metrics 8 and 9 here are the number of degrees awarded. Again, we plan to grow, and as we've been growing and entering in larger classes, we'll award larger numbers of degrees. Number 10% of bachelor's degrees awarded to African American and Hispanic students. Again, you can see the numbers in the goals, percent of adult students, percent of degrees in STEM and health, graduate and undergraduate. And now we turn to a different category, at least of KPIs. These are scholarship, research, and innovation metrics. So we've had no National Academy memberships. We're not setting a goal right now of having any. Students engaged in undergraduate research, again, that's an internal metric that we will improve on as we rework our curriculum. 17 and 18, these are interesting and timely. So these are total research expenditures and research expenditures from external sources. So as you know, federal money is drying up. And so we still want to hit our strategic planning goals. But instead of setting a linear trajectory here, we have more of an exponential growth model. So right, we think we're going to build upon this, especially with external sources. It doesn't have to be the federal government, right? We can get industry partners to pay for research. We can do a lot here. We think it will take us a little while to identify those possible revenue streams for grants, but we are serious about it.
Can I make a comment there?
Yeah.
So the head of the, I guess it's called the Office of Science and Technology Policy is named Kratsios. And he has given indication that two of his major priorities are artificial intelligence and quantum computing. And those are things that could be in our wheelhouse here. And so, there could be a shift in funding priorities, but it doesn't necessarily mean federal money is just going to dry up. And if you play this adeptly, it could play it to your advantage.
Understood. Utility patents. So as you know, we've started an Office of Patents and Technology Transfer. And again, we think this is going to start slow and grow over time, but we have a goal 5 years out to have 5 patents per year. The rest of these don't really apply to our current status, licenses options, startup companies created. Again, these would be great things. We're not right now setting a goal that this is a target we're focused on. In the final section, I'm going to hand this over to VP Brooks. This is the enrollment table. Again, he and I can tag team on this, but Brian, you want to give some information on the enrollment tables here?
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Thiessen. I think we talked about this before, but in order to achieve our goal of 3,000 by 2030, we need to be averaging around 10 to 12% per year in enrollment growth. Now, that's total student enrollment. So the big impact of that due to attrition is going to be on the new student side. Our new student classes coming in, we really need to see about 20% growth, 15 to 20% growth year over year, if we're going to maintain that same retention level of being in the 70 to 75% range. Now, if the retention rate goes up to 80%, that's going to help us on the new student side as well. In terms of transfer enrollments, we need to get to about 3x on our transfer enrollment, new students, and then graduate about 3x as well in order to achieve those goals.
Yeah, and then the following tables just follow up on enrollment. So what percent of students are coming from outside of Florida? And the state likes to keep it at 10% or lower. Our goal is to go up to 10% as we spread the word about how great Florida Poly is. Percent of degree-seeking students earning 15 plus credits in their fall term. Yeah, this depends on the mix of students you're bringing in, but we will continue to monitor that. We want students to graduate in 4 years. And then the FTE table, full-time equivalent table of enrollment. The thing to point out here is the number in that far right column, that 20, 30, 31, that's used by the Board of Governors when they're doing facilities planning and space planning. And so again, this is based on our goal of 3,000 students by 2030 and the mix that will be face-to-face, online, full-time, part-time, and so on. And here you see this final, I believe it's the final table, is the percent of those FTE enrollment by method of instruction, all distance, flex, hybrid, classroom. We know that on the current path we're headed, right, with the space that we have, in order to reach 3,000 students by 2030, we'll need to offer a little more online. So we have a goal here of maybe getting as far as to 84% will be classroom at the undergraduate level, and 16% will have at least some online component. Graduate, a little more aggressive, but we still see for the short term, our bread and butter is the face-to-face experience. We think graduate programs can be online, and we're comfortable with that. Undergraduate, we think we can start adding courses, develop an expertise in online learning and online teaching, and then build from there. And that is, the rest is just definition. So that is the accountability plan. I will stop sharing my screen.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the University Accountability Plan for fiscal year 2025?
So moved,
Total
Setspace.
motions.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so Toll moved, and do I have a second?
Second.
Taki seconded. Now let me go back to this. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. The motion carries. Does anyone have anything further to say?
Trustee Abbott, I would like for Dr. Thiessen just to share the next steps so that the
good.
Board of Trustees clearly knows what's happening now that the Board of Trustees has approved it, where it goes and what that process yields.
Yes. Yeah,
Sounds
we will send this tomorrow. By tomorrow, we'll probably send it today to the Board of Governors. It will be presented at the June Board of Governors meeting, where we will finalize our PBF score and head into that kind of side of the accountability plan process, how it ties to funding. But by approving this, you're approving our mission again. You're reapproving our goals for the foreseeable future. Basically, you've approved again our strategic plan and all the work that went into that.
Sounds great. Does anyone have any other comments? Okay, with no further business, the meeting of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee stands adjourned. Thank you.